Hi, welcome back to our channel, Investigating Film for Dummies. That's the title right now, anyways. I'm Genevieve in California, and this
I'm
is
Gary. Oh, I'm Gary. I'm her brother now in Phuket, doing some
I'm
little bit of exploring and some scuba diving for the weekend. So anyway, this is where I am, and we're going to talk about
where the Crawdads sang.
where the Crawdads sing. We're doing this phony Southern accent for a couple seconds, just because it's that kind of movie, and I guess book, which I did not read. My sister read the book, and to me, it was a complete well, it was I even started out thinking that way from the very beginning. So this is like the Lifetime Channel movie meets Southern Gothic, which is a very interesting tradition. The Southern Gothic tradition is like one of my favorite literary and movie forms.
Mhm.
So since you read the book, I'll let you start discussing it.
All right, I will do that. I've been told I have a good Southern accent. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, you
Anyways,
had your mama was Southern, and so
that's right. Well, I actually enjoyed the movie very much. I know it didn't get a lot of great reviews. I did read the book, and I thought the book was, I really enjoyed the book. It was depressing, but I really liked it. I read it a long time ago. Um, I was just, I thought it was a great companion to the book. The movie was a great companion to the book. I think alone, I can see why people wouldn't like it because they left out a lot of the story. But I thought it was, like I said, a great companion. I keep saying that. But visually, I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. That's why I was so engaged, because I loved seeing the nature. I was wondering how much of it though was like, what's the word called when it's fake? Like the bird. Obviously, it's
oh,
not a real bird.
well, it was shot in Louisiana, even though it's supposed to be North Carolina. It's
Oh,
supposed to be the
okay.
marshes of North Carolina, but I always watch the credits and see, and so because there's a lot of movies being made in Louisiana, and that it was made there. So there's a large areas of marshes and swamps down in southern Louisiana. I'm sure they use that area
Right.
for a lot of the
But I
outdoor
mean,
scene.
the bird that flies through,
The
I think the
crane,
first,
the
the
crane,
crane,
yeah.
that's probably not real. So what would
It
that
might
be?
have been real. I
You
mean,
think?
cranes live in the marsh, live in the swamp.
Just look too perfect, but
Yeah, well, it's nature is amazing, which brings us to the story itself, which was all about her love of nature and how she, embraced, because she had lost everything. Which brings us to the family. What scum? What kind of family would leave a young girl completely alone? Now, maybe in the 50s it could happen, maybe, and with this, and I didn't read the book, so I don't know. But the social worker coming and trying to snatch her up. I mean, I don't know,
but
maybe
it
that
wasn't the 50s though.
it was in the 50s. That's what I said.
It was the 70s.
No, it began in the 50s though. When she was a child, it starts out in 1953. That's what the caption said.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and then book might have been written differently. And
No, I don't think so. No.
and I mean, her father was. I'm just going back and kind of outlining what I saw was that the father obviously was a veteran of the war, World War II, probably because of the time period, and and a veteran. He's all messed up in the head, and he treated all his family horribly, and he's a drunk. So I mean, I guess I can suspend my disbelief to believe that that could happen out there in the middle of nowhere. Somebody
Mhm.
could get left like that. So, but again, it resonated with me as a person, because I'm a military brat, and the isolation that we used to feel from moving from location to location, I could feel for her isolation, that she
Mhm.
couldn't, and she couldn't, she was not educated at the beginning, illiterate, and she was completely isolated from the townspeople, which, well, again, the townspeople are just horrible people. This goes back to the Southern Gothic, though. The Southern Gothic, this would be a great little like for young adults or for college classes, a great entry into Southern Gothic. Instead of reading William Faulkner or these other writers are difficult reads. Oh, another good popular Southern Gothic is To Kill a Mockingbird, which they do in high school. And this probably should be read in high school also, just because I don't know how much sex is in the book. I was a little shocked by the sexual scenes, and you go, "This is PG-13." You know, I was kind of making fun of the guy's, his lack of skills, Chase's lack of skills in the bed. And and he's another character, that's in Southern Gothic where the Chase is an innocent. He thinks he's an innocent, but he's actually a villain, right? So, uh, but who's the real villain? That's his interesting
Right.
story, right? But like she said at the dinner table in the movie, insects just have evolved to endure. They kill to survive, right? Not to give
Yeah.
out many spoiler alerts, but but this Southern Gothic thing is right from the start. I wrote down a few things that characteristics: decay and despair is a big, characteristic of Southern Gothic. Madness, decay, despair, continuing pressures of the past upon the present. I mean, she concluded all those things. The lost ideals of the dispossessed Southern aristocracy and continued racial hostilities, which they kind of, I don't know what it is like in the book. I thought it was a little bit lame presentation of the racial part of it but it was an interesting dichotomy or a companion, I guess you'd say, to Kill the Mockingbird, whereas the lawyer is the white savior, saves the black man, and the Kill a Mockingbird. In this case, yet Jumpin and Mabel are the black saviors of the white girl in that book. So they kind of reversed roles, even though they had to stand up against the racial hostility also. Anyway, there was a lot of meat to this story, right, even though I didn't read the book. And one critic called it a pot boiler, which means that it was written to just make money. Which it could be. Is this a young adult novel? Is this considered a young adult novel?
I don't think so. No, I don't know for sure, but no.
Well, I noticed that the first few pages of the book, which I kind of skimmed through, are very similar to the narrative in the movie, which I think those Southern Gothic narratives, I think, are beautiful. One of the reasons I just love those stories is because they have those long narratives about nature and about, this and that. Oh, I came to Charleston just the other day and it was so beautiful, blah, 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 all this stuff. I just love that stuff. It's kind of poetic and, and beautiful. And you feel the loss of, the South is always, it seems tragic because it was destroyed by the North. I mean, they still resent they resent everybody because of the Civil War. They still do it. They still resent people for it. I mean, it goes on today in our politics, right? They still hate everybody because they lost the war. And it's true. It's so true. And it's just unbelievable. But anyway, but that's all in the Southern Gothic stories, right? Okay.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as there was meat to this movie, and that's why I liked it. Finally, a movie that I enjoyed because there was a story and it wasn't just, I mean, there's very little action, if any, really.
No, there's no action, and the action that there was, or the idea that there was some kind of action going on is done in kind of like a flashback or in a kind of a and it's all off screen. And I've seen movies like that where they actually all the violence happens off screen, which is kind of an interesting way to do it, right?
Yeah.
I prefer my violence right there in front of me.
And I prefer it off screen.
And you prefer it off screen. Yeah. So, but again, I enjoyed. But like I said, I love Southern Gothic stories. I mean, I just love that. And you'd be surprised. I did a little research on this. How many movies are considered Southern Gothic. You know, well, they say Edgar Allan Poe is basically started Southern Gothic. He's the original who brought the Gothic ideas from Britain because he lived for a time in England himself, and then he was surrounded by this Gothic literature, and then he brought it to back to America, and then created kind of a Southern Gothic genre, I guess you'd say, among other things. Then William Faulkner, Tennessee Williams being the most famous. But there's so many movies from, let's say, well, all the Tennessee Williams movies, of course, but just like Deliverance. Have you ever seen Deliverance?
I have not. I'm
Now
agreeing with you, but I've never seen
that's
it.
that's a full guy's movie there. It's a shockingly, it's a shocking Southern Gothic film. But all the way up to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, from like Streetcar Named Desire to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those two extremes, you know, the very talky play made into a movie, which is of course still a great film, to you know, to all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, is considered Southern Gothic. And this is just another example of a Southern Gothic movie, as where the Crawdads sing, and they do include all of those elements. So you know, it's a fascinating genre, I guess you'd call it, Southern Gothic genre. Yeah, and so movies and novels and. But anyway, the story itself was, yeah, it was a pretty good story.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. I think what happened at the end was sort of anticlimactic. Anticlim.
No, I enjoyed that ending. Is that the way they did it in the book too?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But I thought it was she over. I mean,
I thought
it was
sad.
horrible what it did, but I mean, it was she kind of overreacted in murdering him. I mean,
spoiler alert. Yeah. Well, yeah, you put spoiler alert on the title, I
well,
guess.
there was a
Yeah.
book.
It was a book. Yeah, most people should have read it. So should have read it. Or, yeah, but I like the way they did it because, you know, here's a guy who's been living with this lady all these years, since the time he was a little boy, Tate, right? To the time he was an old man, and then she passes away.
That part, yeah, that part was good. I meant her murdering him.
Oh, that's what I mean, though. But you didn't know that she actually did it until the very end.
Right. That's true. That's true. Because I knew that because I read the book. Right.
Oh yeah, but I didn't. I kept going after the trial was over. Well, so who the fuck killed him? I'm sorry. Spoiler alert on my language. Who killed this guy? Right. I was like, oh, are they going to tell us? And then then they went into the final part of it, which I thought was beautifully done. It was I enjoy that kind of passage of time. As it, you know, I think that's a Southern Gothic thing. You know, just the melancholy movement of time, and it's glad that she lived the last a part of her life in a happy atmosphere with her husband. Right, well, and she did, you know, it's funny though, and again, another characteristic of Southern Gothic characters is they live outside the boundaries of normal society. And for her, she was kind of like an early hippie. She actually, even when it came to marriage, she said, you know, we already live together. Why do we have to get married?
Yeah.
She's outside the boundaries on that one too. So almost everything she did. So murder isn't far beyond her. She's already outside the boundaries of most everything in society. She just did what she felt was natural and needed to be done, which I was amazed by. I don't know if in the book, did they go into any detail how she performed this amazing act and how because if you think back to how they talked about in the trial, she would have had to, you know, leave the hotel, get on the bus, get back, somehow invite this guy up to the thing and leave the thing open so he could fall through it, right? So, and then when did she message him to meet her there? See what I'm saying? Yeah. I thought about all those things.
From what I recall, again, it's been a couple of years since I read the book. It's pretty much the way it was laid out in the movie. So from what I remember.
Okay. Sounds like a good role for Columbo. You know, he said, you know, coming back and asking her more questions about where she was and everything, because it's like one of those perfectly done murders, right? That has to be cracked by a skilled detective, which I guess they didn't have any in those southern towns during those days.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was it kept me going, you know. It kept, you know, I'm surprised when I looked at the rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I said, wow,
Yeah,
that's a very low rating
I know.
for something. Maybe they all read the book, and but I read a couple reviews by guys who didn't read the book, and a lot of them, they you know, this that whole pot boiler thing came up. They just did, maybe they just don't like Southern Gothic, or maybe they thought it was too much of a formulaic, too formulaic in their mind, because a lot of these critics are are literature majors, or they're writers themselves, and so they automatically look at the writing. And of
Mhm.
course, they didn't do that in Day Shift, did they?
I was gonna say, I mean,
And I don't know why we're comparing Day Shift and this. They're two different type of movies.
the rating.
But the ratings, I was a bit shocked myself by the rating. You know, I'm like,
They should have got
what?
55 and
56%, even
56.
56, almost hit 60%, and which is kind of a big rating, right? And versus the other Netflix movie, Me Time, at 6%.
Deserves. That's well deserved.
Anyway, we're not here to review the ratings, but still, it's always kind of shocking. Me, I basically like movies, and I never, you know, unless it's just really horrible. Even Me Time, which I'm watching in bits and pieces, I would, you know, it's just, yeah, ridiculous. But you know, I just like movies, and so I try to give them every one of them a fair shake, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So this
but
one,
me
because it's
too.
amazing. There's a lot of older films that have been horribly trashed when they first came out, and then over the years they've become considered classics. So
Mhm.
you can't go by like what people think right at the beginning for some odd reason. You know, some of these things they're like wine. They have to sit and you know, age for a while, right? So maybe Me Time will age into some. I doubt it. I doubt it very
Absolutely.
seriously. That's because they're gonna open up the bottle and go, "Oh, this is nasty stuff."
100%.
But I think the where the Crawdads sing could age well. You know, it's kind of timeless, and you know, because it's a different time period, and you
Mhm.
know, and people can relate. I mean, I could relate because of my, you know, I have a Southern family. I'm from a Southern family. You know, I had to go through a bit of isolation myself when I was younger. Um, what else did I put down here? Um, oh, Dark Family Secrets,
Yeah.
which we're both familiar with, right? The cruelty of those not seeming to belong or seem strange. Plus, I worked as a naturalist for a while for
Right.
the city of Escondido and for Vista School District for a while, for almost 7 years, 7 or 8 years. So I kind of related with her love of naturalism and natural. She was
Yeah.
what I could see from her drawings there, of course, this fictitious character. But that was another thing, and I did notice some of the critics said that they didn't particularly care for the movie, but they loved her character. They loved Kaya.
Hmm.
They thought she was
Yeah,
a fascinating character,
she was.
even in the
So I don't
movie.
understand. That was her the whole film.
Pretty much. Who knows? They just didn't like the story. Maybe they didn't like the murder mystery and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
they thought it was too. Whereas, like, can you watch something like To Kill a Mockingbird or read the book, which I've read a couple of times and seen the movie, of course, probably 3 or 4 times. Um, uh, this the trial isn't like the biggest. I don't know how it's not part of the family. It's just some, you know, the father's the lawyer, and this racist thing happens. I mean, this racist thing happens, and he defends the African American in court, and it's separate from his own family. So I
Mhm.
don't know what the difference is, but for some reason, I think they found that distasteful, or for some reason, I don't know. I have no
Mm.
clue what they're thinking, to tell you the truth, because I didn't read the critics that well. I just kind of flipped through it, scanned it, you know, and I just want to go for my own judgment. I thought, yeah, the murder mystery was kind of another way it kept me interested, right? Again,
Mhm.
it was when I first couple of scenes though, before I realized it was because I didn't know anything about this book, you know, other than I've seen it around and I've seen it in your house, and I know it's very popular. When I first the first scene is, oh, this is a Lifetime Channel movie. The man's gonna beat everybody, and the men are horrible, and the women have to endure till they finally knock him over the head or something, which is basically. But they did have Tate, who was a kind of, and the lawyer kind of redeemed the male the male gender in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because they were both nice guys, and yeah, but Chase was a scumbag, and it seems like, and many of the townspeople, even the women, were horrible, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Reminds me of things in my life right now.
yeah.
Anyway, we'll go to that though.
Yeah, people, because it resonates with a lot of what people go through in life, even if you're not from the South.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be from the South. I mean, and what was that movie? It was another. It has nothing to do with the South, but it was considered a Southern Gothic. Well, I don't know. All these, I'm looking over a list here, and they're all from the South. They're all Southern, Southern type movies. True Blood, even, True Blood, totally Southern Gothic, right?
Love it.
To the
My
maximum.
favorite.
Or any of the Anne Rice vampires, all Southern Gothic,
Love
so it's a fantastic genre. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. I think it's probably one of my favorite genres. I don't know why. The dark, brooding, decay, and right at the beginning, she talks about death and decay in the very beginning of the movie and the book. Death and decay, the decaying, like for the South, it's after the Civil War, it's all the the old plantation houses and all. And when I lived down south, half of my life, at least up until it wasn't actually half of my life, I wish, was 20 hold on, until I was at least 25 years old. I spent most of my life a good part of my life in the South. So and I saw a lot of old decaying houses, and it's gotten worse because I watched some of these guys do YouTube videos on the old cities of the South, old towns, and they're just falling apart. Nobody wants to live in those old towns anymore. Everything's decaying, So that's a big part of that Southern Gothic, feel to it also. And if you go to Northern California, you can see a lot of the same thing. A lot of these towns are just dying up there. Decay and death. That's like one of the main themes. And she really beat a dead horse with that one in the movie, but but I appreciated it. I liked it. So.
Well, I learned something. I didn't even know what that meant before we started. I didn't even know it was a thing.
What was that?
Southern Gothic, is that what you call it?
Yeah. I guess that's why we call this investigating film for dummies.
Yeah.
now when you see something, oh yes, this definitely falls into that art form, right? Yeah, it's a fantastic art form, movie or play or even music. They call it.
I guess I skipped that class that day when we talked about Southern Gothic.
They call it dark country or Southern Gothic or dark Americana. They have a whole music genre devoted to that too. And speaking of which, I did love what's her name again? Taylor, the singer.
Oh, Taylor Swift?
Yeah, Taylor Swift did the song at the very end. It was beautiful.
Oh, I didn't listen to it.
Go back and listen to that. It's incredible. It actually was almost better than the movie. But it really captured that Southern Gothic, isolation and loneliness, and it's a beautiful song, or you can just listen to it on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah,
just look it up. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, it was almost chilling after watching the movie and seeing all that the denouement, the actual what happened at the end, right? Then that song comes on for the credits. It was very well done. Again, I would give it much more than 30%, but that is what it is. You
would give it more or not much more?
Oh, I would give it much more.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not a critic. The way those, like I told you, the Rotten Tomatoes works, that they do a whole, they take an average of all the critics
Mhm.
So 33% liked it. Those other 70% for some
Yeah.
reason didn't like it.
Well, I think that they're wrong. So,
And the one I did read, he never read the book, and he said he still hated the movie.
mhm.
But it was a guy. Again, maybe it's a guy thing. And me, it didn't bother me. I quite enjoyed it. Again, like because I
Yeah.
do enjoy Southern Gothic storytelling. So
So in
anyway,
conclusion, we
hmm,
both recommend this film.
hmm, recommended.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is investigating Phil for Dummies for right now, and this is just our way of having fun watching movies and discussing them.
Yeah.
And,
Like and subscribe.
and so I say goodbye, internet, for
Bye.
tonight. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.